first time you've ever gotten it right?
That is the first time.
We're turning a new page here. Yes. All right, well, like Josh said, my name is Danielle, and I'm never at the 6:30. This is so fun. I leaned over to Pastor Josh, and I was like, is this what worship is always like at the 6:30? Because if it is, I'm changing services. But like you've been hearing about, we have been in a series titled Ambassadors, where we have been looking at what does it mean that we've been sent out as ambassadors from Jesus? What does that mean? And we've been looking at the 7 different spheres of society. And I think, they're already up here. This is so great. So we have all of these different spheres of society. And over the past few weeks, we've been looking at saying, what is the makeup that the Lord's given me? And which ones of these do I fit into as kind of my primary spheres? We're not going to all fit into all of them, and that's probably a really good thing. Like, you don't want me in your medical or government sphere. I don't know about those things. You don't want me as your doctor, and you don't want me as your politician. But my primary sphere is the sphere of education. And I am a teacher, but I'm also a grad student, so I'm a student and a teacher, and I am in that sphere, and through this series looking at, okay, what is our platform? And me being able to go, okay, my platform is that I'm in a classroom, and I'm in the education sphere on a regular basis, and what does it look like for us to all be sent out in those spheres that we're in? And what does it look like? Last week we looked at rest. What does it look like to actually work out of our rest instead of work so hard until we crash and then call that rest? And throughout this series, we've been looking at the verse in 2 Corinthians. Thought I had it. One-handed Bible is tough. We've been looking at the verse in 2 Corinthians 5, in verse 19 and 20. And it says, God was reconciling the world to himself, not counting their trespasses against them, and entrusting to us the message of reconciliation. Therefore, we are ambassadors for Christ, God making his appeal through us. And I think that last part is so powerful. If he's making his appeal to the world through us. He could have chosen any strategy. Quite frankly, he probably could have chosen a more effective strategy. But he said, you are my ambassadors. And ambassadors are those that are sent from a certain kingdom into another kingdom as a representation of that kingdom's values and cultures and laws. And as we're sent out, we aren't sent out as ambassadors in this sense of, I'm an ambassador from America. We are an ambassador from his kingdom. And we are sent out that his kingdom would come and his will would be done on earth as it is in heaven. And that is the place that we're sent out from into all of these different areas of our life. That the Lord has so strategically placed us in these interesting mixes that we would go out into all the world, that they would know him and they would know what he looks like. And so today we're going to look at what is the impact that character has on us as ambassadors. And as I was looking up the definition of character, you get the classic, character is who you are when no one's looking. It's like I can talk to a 4th grader about that, when it's about the test that I know that they cheated on. It's like, who were you when no one was looking? And you have that. But as I was looking further, I found a line in a definition, and it said, character is the expression of your values and your beliefs. It's what comes out of you based on what's happening on the inside, based on our values, based on our beliefs, and what we choose to agree with is what comes out of us. And I want to go with that for when I'm talking about character tonight. We're talking about it's that expression that comes out of us, of our values and beliefs. And our character will mature over time. And for me, at age 5, character wasn't fully matured yet. By age 6, I was good, but 5, still working on it. And I've got to be honest, you guys, I never would have thought I would ever share this story outside of like a sleepover of like, what was your most embarrassing moment? But it just felt right tonight. So when I was 5, I had a little accident. I don't know why I didn't get to the bathroom in time, but I didn't. And by age 5, I knew enough that, like, this isn't supposed to be happening still. And so I had on Little Mermaid pants, and I thought, all right, how do I solve this problem? And when I look back, I go, the value I had was save your face. Don't let anyone ever know. Like, I value my self-protection in this moment that no one would ever, ever know. And the belief that if anyone knew that this just happened, I would be made fun of for the rest of my days, and my mom would probably be upset with me. So I took matters into my own hands, and I realized I have a whole drawer of pants upstairs. So I went, changed my clothes, and then I realized I have to do something with these now. And because I know dirty clothes don't go in your bedroom, they go in the laundry room. So I go down to the laundry room, and I realize I can't just, like, put these in the hamper. That's so obvious. My mom will for sure know. And so I think, genius, I'll throw them behind the washing machine. That's obviously the right choice. Just toss them. And as a 5-year-old, I mean, washing machines are bigger than you might think when you're 5. And so I try to throw it behind, probably didn't do a very good job. And I think, my mom's never gonna know. She's never gonna know I'm in different clothes. She's never gonna find them. This will be great, I've gotten away with it. About 5 minutes later, my mom comes to me holding them. And she goes, are these yours? Which I don't even know why she asked. I have a brother, of course they're mine. Like, she saw me in them earlier, and I'm like, nope, not mine, Mom. Don't know where you found those. She goes, did you throw these, like, behind the washer? I was like, nope, didn't do it. And then she asked me, so did you have an accident? Nope, I didn't. And I just denied it, as if she had no idea, like, you're the only girl in this house. I saw what you were wearing earlier. Of course you put them there. Like, but in that moment, the value I held and the belief I had was that if I don't protect myself from this, I'm going to be shamed, and no one else is going to be okay with me ever, and all this stuff. Now, today, I'm not holding to that value of, like, oh no, I can't, wet my pants. But I'm holding, but there's still times that it comes up where it's like, am I trying to self-protect? Am I willing to compromise my character and lie at all costs so that it's like, don't accuse me, I didn't do it? No. And hold the world here. And that's not what Jesus looks like. And we don't have to live like that. That's the best part. We don't have to live as we walk out into our spheres going, okay, I just need to remember my trail of lies so that I make sure I don't undo one of them and I make sure everyone likes me. We get to be so freed from that, which is the best part. And so today we're going to dive into that. And if you guys want to open up your Bibles to the book of Colossians, we're going to be in chapter 3. And Paul is writing a letter to the church of Colossae, and he is in the middle of kind of talking to them about, here are some really practical things of how do you deal with your household, husbands and wives, what should you do, and what should you do with your bondservants, masters, what should you do, kind of giving them some tips on order. And then to sum it all up, Paul just kind of covers it all, starting in verse 23. He says, whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ, for the wrongdoer will be paid back for the wrong he has done, and there is no partiality. Masters, treat your bondservants justly and fairly, knowing that you also have a master in heaven. What I love about the beginning of this verse is Paul takes away all the qualifiers, because he's just gone through a list of this is how you interact with other people, and he goes, actually, whatever you do, it's unto the Lord. It's not unto men. And I think oftentimes as we go out into our schools and into work, you can feel like, well, I'm doing it for men because if I do this, they pay me more money. Or if I do this, I get the grade. And we start to work for men as that being the end goal. But the truth is that our lens has to change, that it's for him. that he's sent us out into all these different spheres that we would work for him and make him known wherever we go, not just work for men, because guess what? If you spend your life trying to work for men, you will always be disappointed. You will never measure up to everyone's expectations or do it all right. But when you work unto the Lord, it's counted as love. And we get to, just like we were talking about even with giving, it's our life poured out before him in love. As we choose those things in our spheres. And I love the end part of this verse that we read, where he just throws in this little thing of, oh, and masters, make sure to treat, does he use the word bondservants? Yeah, bondservants justly. Remember, you've got a master in heaven too. That's all. Like just this little tie on the end. But what I love about this is because he gives the reminder of saying, you know what? We don't have bondservants anymore. And we also don't have people that call us master, but we might have people that call us boss. We might have people that call us mom or dad. We might have people that call us a teacher. And he is going, you know, as your master, how I deal with you. You know how I deal with you when you get something wrong. You know how I deal with you and how I celebrate you when it all goes right. You know how I come alongside you when we need to agree with truth in a different way. When you're believing a lie, you know how I deal with you. And then he goes, deal with your bondservants in this way. Reflect me to them, that you would deal justly with them, just like I have with you. That you would look like me to them. And would we look like him in our spheres? Would we reflect his character as we go out? And we're going to look at the story of Joseph. He is somebody in the Bible that I would say his character just was steady. Throughout his whole life, he has all these circumstances coming at him where he could have been riding a roller coaster of life with the way life was happening to him. He starts out, he's the favorite son, gets the cool coat with the rainbows, and he gets all that, goes out with his brothers. They throw him in a pit. They take his cool coat. He ends up with another kingdom, has been taken away from his family and everything he knows. If there is somebody that deserves to be a little bitter and a little upset, I think Joseph is our guy. He is pretty justified, if you ask me, of going, you know what? If you were mad for many years, I think it would make sense. But he wasn't. And the way Joseph responds in his life is something I think we can learn a lot from. And in Joseph's life, he ends up getting promoted in the kingdom that he's working in. He is continually being promoted and promoted and promoted. He never should have been. He came in as a slave. But through time, his character is proving true time and time again. He's dealing with the money, and they go, oh, when he deals with the money, it's all dealt with well. He's not sneaking some for his own. When he's dealing with other people, he's not a cruel ruler to them. He's one that can be trusted and honored. And so Joseph has made it to like the top of his career, I guess you could call it. I guess it is a career. He's made it there, and then the wife of the man that he is like the head of the household for, his name is Potiphar. And Potiphar's wife was trying to ask Joseph to hang out for a little bit. And she kept coming and saying, Joseph, come hang out. And Joseph kept saying no. In those moments, what he valued and what he believed continued to come out. He valued marriage. He valued honor. He believed that his work was unto the Lord. He believed in the value of people and in his own value that the Lord had given him. And so finally, Potiphar's wife comes one more time and says, Joseph, let's hang out. And he's like, I am out of here. He starts to run. She grabs what they call his garment. And he just keeps running. He's like, I got to get out of here no matter what the cost. So he's running. I don't know how that all works, but she's left with his garment, goes straight to her husband and says, you will never guess what Joseph did, and accuses him wrongly. And Joseph goes from head of the household down to you're in prison. It's a pretty big drop in a day. Not a good day for him. So he ends up down there. And if you ask me, I think most of our responses would probably be pretty bitter. Try to justify yourself. You go into that prison and you are done. Joseph goes in with an attitude of honor, with character, and he ends up becoming in charge of the prison, because that's what Joseph does, is he just becomes in charge of things because he can be trusted. And this is what's written about his time in prison. But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him steadfast love and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison put Joseph in charge of all the prisoners who were in the prison. Whatever was done there, he was the one who did it. The keeper of the prison paid no attention to anything that was in Joseph's charge. What if people didn't have to pay attention to anything that was in our charge? What if when we walked into our spheres, it was like they are the most trusted, honorable person? What is different? It's confusing when people are like that. In the best way, it's so confusing. And so he goes through this. He eventually gets out of prison. Another good day for him. But then at the end of his life, his brothers come. The brothers that, threw him in the pit. Probably not his favorite people in the world. And they come to him, and instead of responding to them with bitterness, accusations, he has the upper hand now. Like, he has what they need. And instead, he takes them in and gives provisions to them of they need food, they need stuff. Like, they're on their last leg. And he is providing for them. And then his father is at the end of his life, and his father's blessing all of his sons. And in Genesis 49, this is the blessing that his father is giving about Joseph. He said, Joseph is a fruitful branch by a spring. His branches run over the wall. The archers bitterly attacked him, shot at him, and harassed him severely. Yet his bow remained unmoved. His arms were made agile by the hands of the mighty one of Jacob. And his father, after knowing what's happened in his life, after hearing about everything, he goes, Joseph, you are a man that it didn't matter what anyone says about you, your circumstances, the accusations that are brought against you, you have a bow to fight back, and it's unmoved. You choose to go for honor and love and extravagance instead of fighting back, which most people would say you'd be justified in. You are so wronged, and yet he knew something else. He knew something else in that didn't move him. It didn't change him. And what if our circumstances and our spheres didn't change us? What if it didn't matter the way that my teacher or my boss or my family interacted with me? What if my bow didn't move? What if it remained still because I know the one that fights for me? And I've agreed with that truth. And we get to agree with that truth. It is the gift that we have. And I believe that Joseph had a character that looked like God because he looked at God. He knew what God was like. And when I was in a class one time by a guy named Alan Hood, he had talked about the principle he called beholding and becoming. And what he talked about was he said, what you behold is what you become. And think about groups of friends. They all kind of sound alike. People just start to sound like each other. They all kind of start to look like each other with similar styles. They have those similar mannerisms that it's like, why are you all doing this thing now? And everyone's like, what? I wasn't doing it. It's like, yes, you all do it now because it comes out together. I remember when Pastor Katie and I were in college together, and our first year of college, probably 5 times a week, people would come up to us and go, you guys are sisters. That's so cool. We're like, not sisters. Nope. There was one time we were walking into the cafeteria, and we got our food, and this food lady, what do we call him? cafeteria? I feel like there should be a different term. She's giving us our food. And she actually gasped. She just goes, oh, you're twins. And we're like, no, just friends. But we were living together, and we had classes together. We had the same group of friends where people start to look like each other. People will say spouses kind of start to look like each other. It's like you just look like you go together. Some people say you can look like your pet. You decide if that's good or bad, depending on how your pet looks. But you start to look like what you behold. What you spend your time looking at, what you spend your time gazing upon is what you become. And as we gaze upon the character and the nature of Jesus, would we start to look like him? As we go out, would God be able to make his appeal through us to the world because we would look like him? How powerful would it be on Monday morning if just our community, even if we just took our community, if we all walked into our different spheres, whether it was walking into our home, into our schools, into our jobs, and we looked like him? What would happen? What would it be like if Jesus took your job for a day? What would it look like? And does it look like that when you show up? Because that's what we get to carry. We carry his likeness. We carry his character. And he's decided that he wanted us to carry it, and that was his strategy to go into the world. He said, you go and bring my kingdom, that they would know exactly what I'm like. And we don't have to question, okay, so what's my purpose? You know your purpose. Where are you going on Monday? You're as the ambassador there. I know my purpose is that I'm an ambassador to an elementary school in Apple Valley, Minnesota, in a 4th grade classroom. That they would know what he is like in that classroom. And that throughout that year that I have those students, that he would make his appeal through me, that they would see what Jesus is like. And what if that happened in your workplace? What if the coworker that, maybe wasn't the easiest to get along with, what if God is making his appeal to your coworker through you and how you respond? Because that is the impact that we have with this. This is such a big deal that the world would know what he looks like. This is his strategy, and they have to know. There's too much riding on it that people don't know what God is like. And he has sent us out that people in our spheres would know what he's like. And we know what he's like by looking at him. It's by reading this book, even when we were in worship and saying, what is a story that comes to mind in the Gospels, that we would just stay in the Gospels. We could stay there for the rest of our lives and just look at, God, what are you like? Because when I'm undone of his kindness towards me, I walk in kindness to others. Because what I've been given, I just want to give away. When I see how he deals with me when I mess up, that's how I want to deal with people. And people don't know what to do with it. It's the best thing. People don't even know how to respond like that because it's so countercultural. Our culture has gone so far away from kingdom values, but we get to bring it everywhere we go. And we get to agree with truth. If you've been at Grow for any length of time, you've probably heard of identity verses. Get them on the app, get them at the welcome desk, but we get to agree with truth. I no longer have to have a poverty mentality where I'm worried if I have enough, therefore I'm going to cheat on my expense report, or I'm going to try to cut corners here, because I know that the truth is that he's my provider. Therefore, it doesn't matter. I don't have to fight the person for the promotion or the better entrance essay and try to cut somebody else down, because guess what? He's already gone before me. He knows what I need. And we get to live like that. Character isn't something we muster up to say, okay, I'm just going to be better. Today, I'm going to be really good, and I'm not going to tell a lie. That's great. Good start. But that's not how character works. We reflect character. Character actually comes from the inside of us, and it comes out, and we have to know what we're reflecting. We're all reflecting something. It's just what happens. of we all have a response to a situation where we can cut a corner. I personally, that's something I struggle with. I love to cut corners. I think I've got some really great strategies on how to do things. But it also means that, you know what? When was the last time that I took the job that somebody on my team, when nobody wanted it, where you kind of eyes dart around of like, somebody will speak up and first person to speak loses. So you just dart your eyes. It's like, well, what does it look like when Jesus went out of his way and was inconvenienced for people? What does it look like to be inconvenienced at my job? Because he's got me. He knows what I need. And we get to agree with that truth, and we've got to draw a line on that. Because he sent us out. He's making his appeal through us. And what would it look like if we went out with confidence in who we are and actually went out with clarity on our calling and clarity about our workplace, and we went out and we reflected him as we were there? That is the invitation that he's given to us. Worship team, you guys can come on up. But that is the invitation on the table before us, is that we get to reflect what he's like. It's his greatest gift, because if we reflect him, it means we look more like him, which means we've looked at him more, and we know him more, and we're more in love with him, and the benefit to the world around us is huge. So I'm going to have you guys stand up. What we're going to do during worship is we're going to behold him. We're going to look at him. We're going to look at what he's like. In one of the songs we're going to sing, there's a line of, "It's so much better your way." And that stuck with me earlier today of, it's so much better his way. He wants you to be so fruitful in your sphere. He wants you to see him moving in powerful ways in your sphere, because he wants to partner with you. He wants you out there. You're his strategy, and it's because he loves to use you. He loves it. So Lord, thank you for the invitation on the table before us. Lord, thank you that we get to go out and be your ambassadors. Lord, you could have chosen anyone, and you chose us. And so, Lord, we look to you. You're the kindest one we know. You're the most beautiful God. And so, Lord, we just look at you. We gaze upon you. Lord, would you show us and give us even more revelation of what you're like, that we would reflect you as we go out. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen, amen. Let's all just spread out. Maybe you want to respond to the message up at the front. If you do, you can scoot all the way to the front so that you can give room to people, because there's going to be plenty of people that are going to respond moving forward. And as we spread out, I just want to encourage you to spread out just like we did a little bit earlier tonight. I really was feeling this tenderness that we get to have before the Lord, of looking at him and just being fascinated with him. And Lord, I just thank you for that. As we go into worship, let's just lock eyes with him and connect with him.